I think I'm probably going to do this in a sort of soft-spoken, whispered voice. As you know, I'm sort of going on a Halloween sort of theme this week, because it's my favourite day of the year, other than Christmas, and I get really into it. I've been to America once for Halloween. Hopefully it won't be my last time. And I just love the way that they decorate, or you decorate, your houses, and just really go for it. So I try and do the same. Every year I have a Halloween party, which the French don't get. The French don't really do Halloween. The English do, but not as much as the Americans. So I always try and invite as many people as possible. Last year we had a hog roast. We got 2 big pigs, and we had a DJ, and we hired like a candy floss machine and bubble machine and stuff, so it was really good fun. I don't know if any of you, well, no, some of you are on my Facebook, but the profile picture that I have up there now of me in the Halloween costume, that was last year's party. Sadly this year I won't be doing a party, because I think I'm going to be in England for Halloween, so never mind. So I was going to talk to you a little about like paranormal experiences, I suppose you could say. Do I believe in ghosts? Not really sure. My family actually are quite an odd family. I do believe that some people are more sort of open to seeing things or feeling things. My family are definitely quite open. My grandmother used to do a lot of seances, and I remember being a child and staying at my grandmother's house, and like her best friend Auntie Dossie and like the neighbours would all come round, and after me and my little brother and cousins would go to bed, the adults would do seances downstairs, and like Ouija boards and things, and they were really into it. Like they do it at Christmas and stuff, which I just don't, like looking back on it now, like I just don't understand why they do that. And obviously that tradition passed to my mother. My grandmother's deceased. Rest in peace, Granny. But my mother did them for quite a while, and she's got quite a lot of stories to sort of tell about times that she'd done them. The only time I think I did 2 with my mother. I can't recall any other times. But I'm quite sceptical of like whether people push glasses and with the Ouija board. I've never done a seance. But like whether people push the glass and things, like I always think that someone's pushing the glass. But we were doing one in our kitchen when we lived in Devon in England, and I must have been about 15. As some of you might say, why would a parent do that with their child? 15's still a child, I think. I certainly was quite, well, I'll explain why, but clearly not mature enough to be doing something like that anyway. But my mum's always treated me like an equal. She's always sort of taken me places, and I've done everything with her. So I guess she thought that I'd be able to do something like that. But when we were doing it, it was my mum, my stepdad, my mum's best friend, me, and someone else, but I don't know who. And it was my turn to ask a question. I think we were speaking to someone who was a lot of it was just gobbledygook, and the funny thing was like the speed of the glass. I mean, I'd like to say I'm a non-believer, to be honest, especially because this was all a long time ago. But I can't really explain, like, because the class was going pretty fast, and yeah, so I don't think we actually got anyone of any, like, that we knew, but I asked a really stupid question. I asked if I die of a horrible disease, and it shot straight to yes, like, straight to yes, and I mean, my mum was so angry with me. Like, she was crying, and my aunt was like, you're an idiot. My mum's never, I don't even know if she does them anymore. I've never done it with me again, ever. So you'd think that because I was with close family, like, they wouldn't push the glass straight to yes, would they? So that was quite horrible. And that freaked me out enough. Don't think I've really done much. And except for my second story, obviously, which must have been after that. It must have been when I was about 17. Was we were doing one on Halloween. Like, a friend of mine, Simon, who's also dead, sadly. Yeah, he passed away far too young. We were doing a Ouija board in his, like, sort of holiday chalet that he lived in, and we were talking, and then someone said that they were my grandmother, and so everyone thought that it was me pushing the glass. So I took my finger off the glass, but that person stayed talking, and I just don't. They knew the name that maybe one of my friends knew my grandmother's name, but I can't imagine they did because she'd been deceased for quite a while, and I can't imagine talking to her. And then she said, like, smoking. I went to SMOKING. And when I was a teenager, I was a little bit wayward. So yeah, smoking. And then she said there was a date. Now I don't remember what the date was. So I got really freaked out. So I rang my mum. And I swear to you, it's a true story, which is just ridiculous. I rang mum, and she told me that that date was the date that my great-grandmother died of lung cancer. She didn't even ever smoke. She contracted lung cancer from the smoke from my great-grandfather's pipes. That could have just been a massive coincidence. But horrible, isn't it? So I don't know what any of that really means. I think it's really freaky. But I mean, it just depends on what you believe in, I guess. Like, I'm not an overly religious person. But I do believe in something. I can't classify exactly what that is. My family are all Christian, so I'd say I'm a Christian, but I know we don't need to talk about religion, do we? It's just ridiculous. But there are definitely things that happen that aren't explainable. And we had a house as well, in a town called Sherford, which is a tiny little it's not a hamlet, it's a village in Devon. And it was a really old house, and we bought it from a lady called Mrs. Goodchild. And she was a really old lady, she was in her 90s, and she said, my husband's still here, but don't worry, he's nice. Which was weird. And only 2 things ever happened to me, but quite a lot of things happened, like, to my mum and my stepdad. My mum would go out of the room to the kitchen, and like the volume of the TV would go up, and she'd go back, and it would go really, really loud. And she'd go in there, and she could see the remote, and she could see the TV and see the volume going up on the TV. And she said that she'd felt taps on her back and things. And we had a carpeted stairs and like a landing. I don't know how you'd explain a landing to someone who doesn't know what a landing is. Like a corridor in your room, and it was all carpeted, but underneath were wooden floorboards. I never heard it, but both parents would hear like footsteps, but on wooden floorboards in the middle of the night. The only two things that happened to me at that house were Mum told me that I needed to turn my TV and my light off at 9 o'clock for bed. You know, I need to go to bed, and I'd sit there and be naughty, but at 9 o'clock my TV would go off and then my light would go off. And then I'd sit and talk to my mum in the bath, and she told me to turn the hot tap on. And I'd reach over to turn the hot tap on, and it would turn on its own. Which is really, really odd. So I'm inclined to say that there is something. But saying that though, I've never had anything since, and we're going back sort of 12 years ago. I've not had any other paranormal sort of experiences or anything, not even a tiny bit. Oh, except I worked on a boat. As some of you know, I work on super yachts, and there's this really old boat called Rio Rita, and it's owned by one of the big Greek shipping companies. It's a private boat, it's like they're floating home. And I went down to clean, in the winter, all you do is just keep the boat clean, and that's it really. There's no guests, because obviously it's cold. And they said, can you go and vacuum all the cabins, and go just make sure everything's all tidy and clean and not getting too dusty. So I went down there, and I did all the 4 cabins, but in this one cabin, I could sense something, that there was something not right. And so I came upstairs, and I told the girls, and they all burst out laughing and said that, yeah, that's the haunted room. That's so funny that you noticed that, because everyone hates going in that room. And they've got no idea, because, it's quite an old boat. They've got no idea why there's something wrong with that room. It's all very strange, isn't it? But yeah. I don't know. Just don't know. It's like this, there's so many things that you can't explain. When I was a child, I had real deja vus as well. But again, it was when I was a child. I've never had anything since. I had a dream one day that there was this girl in my class in primary school, and it was young primary school too. Sort of, I'd say about 7 years old I must have been. And I'd had this dream that we went on a toilet break, the whole class went to the toilet or something. And the first people to finish going to the toilet hold the doors open for the rest of the class to go through. And you stood there and held your hand out, and then everyone would skip past and slap your hand, skipping. And so I had the dream that this girl in my class, blonde hair, she had pigtails, and she was wearing a grey skirt and a blue woolen jumper. We didn't have uniforms at this school. I had a dream that had happened, that I'd skipped past her and she was wearing those clothes. And a couple of days later that actually happened. And I've had more of those, but I can't remember what they are now. It's inexplainable, isn't it? Some people go through life having that their whole lives. I seem to have lost all of my ability to sense anything now. So if any of you have had any sort of paranormal experiences, I'd love to hear them, because I'm really into that kind of thing. But like I said, because nothing's happened for so long, I'm such a doubter now that it's real, and maybe it's just an overactive imagination. my mum completely believes in all that kind of stuff. I just don't know. I don't know. But I find it really interesting though, especially at this time of the year, because I don't think about it ever. Like, I never think about those sort of things. So yeah, share your stories. And it's really late, so I'm going to go to bed with a couple of nice, happy ASMR videos and not freak myself out over ghost stories.